Good morning, everybody. It's Robin from Roaming with Rover, and today we're doing Finish It Friday. Recently saw a video from a gal who had lots and lots of projects, and lots of projects that were sitting in a box. So her UFOs, unfinished objects, and she came up with the idea of Unfinished Friday, and I really like that idea. So basically, we're going to set aside Friday to work on those projects that we have started and then sat down for one reason or another. With me, most of my UFOs are things that I began, a lot of them with crochet alongs, and then life got in the way. I didn't keep up and I set them aside, or something else caught my eye, squirrel. And so I started a different project and didn't get back to the original one. I know for sure that I have 2 sweaters, 1 blanket, and a couple of other blanket square things that I may not actually finish. I may frog those and do something different. One of the problems is when you do a crochet along, oftentimes they're mystery crochet alongs, and you're doing like a block of the month. And I have noticed that I'll get 2 or 3 blocks in and I'm not really liking the project that well, and so it's not something I really care to finish. And I can think of one of those off the top of my head, and it was a C to C, and so it's gonna be hard to frog that because there's a lot of color changes. They may just go right into the garbage, who knows. But then when I saw the finished blanket, it looked better. The project as a whole looked better than the individual blocks. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So what I'm planning on doing is on Fridays, I'm going to pull out one of those UFOs, unfinished objects, and work on it, specifically work on it on Fridays. And then once I get it done, then I'll pull out one of the other UFOs. That will twofold take care of actually finishing up some of these projects and getting clearing out the stacks of stuff. As you know, living in a motorhome, we live in a 40-foot Class A motorhome. That means it's the type that kind of looks like a bus. It's a Winnebago, so pretty common. You'll see them driving down the road all the time, which means I do not have a lot of room for storage for yarn. I don't have a lot of room for storage for anything, and I keep bringing in more yarn, and it's taken up a lot of space. I know a lot of people have these beautiful yarn walls behind them. I don't have that. I have about 8 bins, maybe 10 bins of product stacked floor to ceiling at the end of my bed. I would show it to you, but it's horrific back there. Everything in the motorhome is just everything on top of each other because there's no room. And so I really have to start getting some of these things done and out to their forever home. Additionally, we have a little tiny dining room table which is covered with craft stuff and piled up underneath of bins and boxes, and that's also where all my office stuff goes. So papers and pins and paper clips and binders and important papers. You got to store that stuff somewhere. So that stuff is all under the dining room table. So first, I want to show you what I'm actually working on. As of right now, I only have 1 item in progress, things that I'm actually, whips that I'm actually working on. And I just started this. Thank you, Linda Simpson. She is a maker that I follow on YouTube. Beautiful, amazing, gorgeous stuff she does. Mine will never be anywhere near as nice. But if you remember, I got these beautiful knitting needles for Christmas, and so I'm trying my hand at knitting again. It's not great, but here it is. See, I've already made mistakes, but I don't care. I'm just making a simple hat. Hope it'll fit me. It looks kind of small. Simple hat out of yarn that's left over from this UFO that I'm going to show you. I wanted to do some smaller things to start using up the leftover yarn that I have. So here we are. This is my first attempt at knitting in a very, very long time. Not horrible, but not great. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so for our UFO. This is my temperature blanket. And I know a lot of people are starting temperature blankets now. And I did mine a little different, of course, because, you know, that's how I roll. I was going to start it in January of 2021. I'll take a look up here. And we hit the road last year about the middle of November. And Mister had the idea to start the temperature blanket then. So it was kind of like starting the temperature blanket at the same time as starting the next phase of our trip, of our life. And I thought that was a great idea. So my temperature blanket actually started in the middle of November of 2020. And what I decided to do is because A, I don't have a lot of space in here, and B, I knew if the project was enormous, I wouldn't actually keep up with it. And I did manage to keep up with this, got all of it finished. So what I chose to do is individual blocks, one for each month, out of the sea to sea, the corner to corner. So a lot of my days, and I did one row for every day. So a lot of my days, that's one day. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A lot of my days were very short and easy to keep up with, and that was super important for me. I did one color for every 10 degrees, and I did a range from below 0 up to 110. So every 10 degrees I had a different color, and I used every one of them. That was pretty amazing. So the blocks, one block per month, not real big, very doable. This was, I've got them all hooked together with knitting cable holders, but it kept them in order. This is November, and this was the day that we started. So I put that special line in there for the day that we began, and we actually began and went down like this. So this is where I started the blanket, and then went all the way through the months, and then back down through here, and then this was the day, middle-ish of November when I ended the blanket. I only have 2 special rows. This one right here was the day, again, to delineate when I started the blanket. And then this is January, and you see that sparkly purple? That's the day my mom passed. So I wanted to do something special to commemorate that in this blanket. So her favorite color was purple, and as is mine. And I found that sparkly purple, and I did that one row just for her. So other than that, what I chose to do, and people do them all differently, but what I chose to do was to have the high temperature of the city where we slept, because there's a lot of times when we were traveling, we'd be in one place, we'd leave in the morning and be in one place, and then by the time we got to a different place, it was a totally different temperature. You know, if you drive 300 or 400 miles in a day, you're going to get quite a range of temperatures. So that was the rule wherever I slept. So if I, and this happened a couple times too, I went to my daughter's for a few days, and the temperature there would be very different from where Mr. and the motorhome was. So it was wherever I slept that night. When I went back home, very different temperatures. And it just happened that when I was home after my mom passed, I went home, and then I went down to had to think for a second. Then I went back down to Texas, and they had that record low. So we've got below 0 temperatures in Texas. So as a rule, the darker purpley colors are the higher colors, and the lighter colored are the lower temperatures. So hit that. And then in the summer, we happened to be back home, and they had record high temperatures. This was 106 degrees, no, 116 degrees. And it was 116 degrees for over, it was ridiculous, for several days. So like I said, I hit everything in the range. So all I have to do now is all my ends, and boy, there's a lot of ends on this thing. Then I have to block it and then put it together. And I'm thinking of using this. Isn't that beautiful? I have this left over from a different project, and I thought it was gonna be hard to work with, but it was not. It's very, very, very easy to work with. My only concern is, even though this says it's a 4, I'm pretty sure it said it was a 4, it's pretty thin. Pretty thin for a 4. So it might actually be, yeah, it's way thinner than this. Way thinner than this that I used in the blanket. So that may not work. I might have to come up with something else. But this is what I'm thinking right now. We'll see. So I still have to do all that. I've got time. Weave in my ends, so I'll start weaving in my ends today, see how far we get, and then it all has to be blocked. I do notice, boy, over time, I really notice a difference in the size of the blocks. From some months, it's very, very tight. I used the Michaels Loops and Threads yarn, other than that one special yarn, which came from Hobby Lobby. I just picked up their basic Hobby Lobby yarn that you can get all the time. The rest of it is Michaels Loops and Thread. And even within the same brand, I could see a difference in the feel, in the thickness of the stitches from color to color. And I find that a lot with Red Heart. Some of the colors, the thickness is just so much thicker than other ones. But I'm real pleased with the way this turned out. The variations of color is amazing. So really, really pretty. Lots in the hundreds, lots of 90s. I think this was the 90s. Lots of days in the 90s. I'm real pleased with the way it turned out. So now we just got to get that puppy together, and then we'll have a real interesting blanket. I wanted to make this out of a yarn that was washable, dryable. Didn't matter if it ended up, in the backseat of the car, snuggled up. Usable. I wanted this to be a very usable blanket. So I think this is going to be good. So that's my first Finish It Friday project. We'll see how many Fridays it takes to get this finished. I'm thinking for sure 2 to get all the ends woven in, 1 for the blocking, then I have to put it all together and do a border. So 2 more for that. So probably 5 weeks maybe. This could be a longer project than, and I suppose I don't have to only work on it Friday. We'll have to see how our other projects go. Because you know me, I've always got a million projects going on. Anyway, that's it for today. That's our first Finish It Friday. Wish me luck. Bye-bye. See you soon.